AV in your ears. That's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know. Let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
This is the one and only DJ Newmark, the legendary Throwback King, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast with my man Steve. Next to my favorite street of all times, which is Sesame Street, Fascination Street is the next block over. So anytime I'm in your neighborhood, I'm going to stop by. Believe that.
Yeah! AV in your ears. That's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know. Let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with DJ Newmark. In this episode, we get to know DJ Newmark, where he grew up, how he grew up, and what made him decide to get into the music business, and why as a DJ. He tells fun stories of growing up and trying to figure out how to be a DJ, since there was no internet and around him there was no community to show him the ins and outs of making those sounds. We also do touch on some of the other things that he is a part of. He is a boys basketball coach, and he has his own radio show where he plays classic throwback hip-hop. He tells us where to find the show on the World Wide Web, and we talk about DJ Newmark's throwback t-shirt line. I have one of those shirts. It's very comfortable. I look amazing in it, which says a lot. So make sure you go to djnewmark.com and check out his legendary throwback line of t-shirts. They're sick. Can't thank DJ Newmark enough. And this is my conversation with the legendary throwback king himself, DJ Newmark.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, DJ Newmark, the legendary throwback king. What is up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, Steve? I really appreciate you having me on your show. I'm a big fan. I've seen different episodes, and I just can't wait to have this conversation and share platforms.
I am very excited as well, and we'll get to some of those reasons a little bit later. But first, DJ Newmark, what I like to do is I like to start from the beginning, man. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised, man? Where'd you grow up?
Well, my father was in the military. He retired Air Force. So I was born in Okinawa, Japan, but my mom is not Japanese. She's Korean. And so they met at the prior duty station, and I was consummated there. And then the following duty station was in Japan, and that's where I was born.
So you were conceived in Korea and born in Okinawa, Japan?
Correct.
Look at you, a world traveler before you even set foot on the planet, bro.
There you go. Exactly. And that, I like to say, really was the catalyst in my musical development, because in the world of hip hop specifically, you know, hip hop music is very regional within our United States. You know, people on the East Coast have a certain sound, West Coast has a certain sound, Midwest, Florida, South, you know, Dirty South is what they call it. So they all have their own organic sounds. And so with me being a military dependent, as hip hop started making a cultural impact, I'm traveling all over the world, traveling throughout this great nation, and I'm exposed to different sounds versus a DJ that's just homegrown in a certain area. And on these military installations, you have a conglomerate of a community of people from all over the place that brought their own music. And so it became a nice little like trading ground. I always joke and say that I was one of the first ambassadors of hip hop because I traveled and I always took the collection of sounds with me from location to location. So my dad was really into music. And so he had some of the equipment. And as the late 80s rolled through and hip hop started to gain traction, A lot of people wanted to be either a break dancer or a rapper because it was cheap. You didn't need any money, didn't need any equipment. And I couldn't dance and I couldn't rap. And I was like, what can I do to make an impact? Because I really love this music. And I thought, oh, well, at that time it was all about the DJ. Times have certainly changed and we can get into that. But back in the late 80s when hip hop was in its infancy, the DJ controlled everything. It was all about the DJ, and I loved the attention that the DJs were getting. So I kind of used some of my dad's equipment. I broke a lot of his equipment trying to learn how to do this DJing thing, but that's where it started. Those are the grassroots of DJ Newmark, and I remember like one of my first opportunities to do it in front of a crowd instead of being in my bedroom was at my own middle school function where we had this individual who appeared to be very old, but in hindsight, he probably was in his mid 20s. We're looking for like Sugar Hill Gang, LL Cool J, and he's playing Donna Summer and some of the discotheque stuff that, if you remember the late 80s, it was transitioning, from disco to like freestyle and all these other kind of genres of music. So we weren't trying to go to those type of functions. And our principal was like, hey, we want to hear from the students. What can we do to make these more fun, to where you guys come out? And I said, well, I'm a DJ and let me, make the musical selections. And so everyone bought into that. They was like, yeah, why not? Plus they didn't pay me. So, they got cheap child labor.
This middle school, was this on a military installation?
It was.
Was this an assembly where they said, hey, we want to hear from you. What do you guys want to do? Was it an assembly where that happened?
Kind of, sort of. A lot of the teachers really were the ones that was talking to us, like PE and stuff like that. And the feedback that we gave obviously got passed up to the administration.
Okay. So how hard was it in that moment where, you're just practicing this kind of in your bedroom and breaking your dad's shit. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Let me do it. I'll do it. I'll stand in front of the whole school. Like, how hard was that? Where did you get that courage?
You know what? I think it was something that was just innate in my personality. I've always been a really headstrong individual. At some points in my life, I've been called cocky, but I like to just say assertive and, very confident. We really wanted to go to these functions too. That was the thing. Like, kids want to find a place where we can quote break dance because that was again, part of the culture. Sure. And it's hard to break dance off the Bee Gees, man.
I love that. So one of the things that I like to ask people is where they got the confidence to do whatever it is that they do. So where do you think that you got this confidence? It sounds like you've had confidence as far back as you can remember, but do you have any idea where that came from? A lot of people don't have that.
Well, absolutely. My father, again, it's hard to be a military serviceman and not have that confidence. He's been trained to win our nation's wars. And I guess just being in that military household laid the foundation for that confidence.
He was a career military guy?
He was. He did about 25 years.
Is he still with us?
No, I just lost him this past February to cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
Thank you.
Well, wherever you are, DJ Newmark's dad, thank you. I appreciate all you have done. My dad was in the Air Force too. He wasn't a career guy. As soon as he fulfilled his obligation, he got the hell out of there. He's like, look, if I want somebody to yell at me, I'll go home and fucking hang out with my wife. What kind of music was your dad into? You said he was a music guy.
From his generation, it was all about the Motown sound.
So like Commodores and whoever?
Absolutely. Temptation, Stevie Wonder, Roberta Flack, Natalie Cole, and so forth. My dad, died at 82 years old. So that whole Motown sound era, all the way up to maybe the early 80s. He got into disco, but not that much.
Well, nobody got into it that much.
Yeah, I know. That's why it went away, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance, and you probably haven't because it was a while ago, but I did have on the founding member of the Commodores on my show.
I did see that episode.
His name was Thomas McClary, and my wife says it's one of the greatest episodes that's ever been of my show. She thinks it belongs in the Library of Congress because it's such a good episode. He tells the most amazing stories. That guy's rad as hell. And check this out. This is a Motown fact that almost nobody knows. Do you remember Cheech and Chong?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tommy Chong was signed with Motown before he ever even met Cheech.
Wow. No, I did not know that.
That's wild, right?
That is wild. As a what?
He was a guitar player for a band called Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Huh.
Bobby Taylor was a military guy, and Tommy was part of the band. And Tommy wrote a song called Does Your Mama Know About Me, which was later recorded by Diana Ross.
Wow.
Tommy Chong wrote that song. Like, what? What is happening? It's crazy. I just wanted to bring out that Motown bit of weird wildness.
That's cool.
So why did your dad have, you said he had equipment. Now, are we talking like music equipment or like audio entertainment equipment? Like, was this the home stereo that you're ruining, or was this his music equipment?
You know, it was the home stereo, maybe with an upgrade or two. This was back where you had like these consoles, right? Where the record player was built into the top of it. And I think he had maybe a dual cassette player in the front. You know, in the Air Force, there is a organization of entertainers called Thompson Blue. They are an auxiliary entertainment conglomerate comprised of Air Force specific entertainers that sing, dance, whatever, musicians. And you have to audition at every base. And the winners of every base get put together for a showcase, and they literally travel as their job for 1 year entertaining soldiers. And so my dad was a part of that. He was a vocalist.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So with that being said, he had, you know, a lot of equipment, not PA type, DJ type equipment, just more like house stuff. And so, you know, that's kind of like what I used, especially his record players. You know, I broke a lot of his needles. Wasn't too happy about that, but.
So on that note, we had those same kind of consoles growing up, you know, record player on top, built-in radio. Ours had 8-track cassette tapes right in the front. But the first time my dad heard me listening to like Run DMC and the Fat Boys and shit like that, he said, I'm going to tell you what, I don't know what that noise is, but if I ever catch you doing that to any of my records, I'm going to beat your ass. So I never did it. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, trust me, my dad felt the same way, Steve. Trust me.
Okay, so you're growing up listening to your dad's music and kind of, I guess, maybe getting a little bit of the entertaining bug from him. And so you had figured you can't dance, you can't rap, you're going to start scratching people's records up. So how do you even learn how to be a DJ, especially back then when, A, there was no internet, there wasn't a whole lot of DJs around every nook and cranny. So how did you even figure out how to be a DJ or what a DJ was?
That's so incredible because before hip hop, DJs were basically radio personalities. You know, they had that voice, the Casey Kasems and the
Big
Wolfman
Bopper,
Jacks.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, and they would just, you know, have that charisma and know how to articulate and pronunciate and have some wit and say, you know, and the next song is, you know, and whatever.
Hit the post, stop talking right when the words start.
There you go,
song.
you know, exactly. And so you're right. And that's why I said I really tore up my dad's equipment because we just didn't know how to emulate some of that. So here's some funny facts of my development. There was times when I found out that the DJ was quote unquote scratching with the records. It started off with me taking a record and taking a nickel and literally going across the grooves of the record because it sounded.
While it was on the turntable or no?
No.
You just pulled the record out of the sleeve and started scratching it with a nickel?
Yes. And I had a microphone. And so I just put the microphone by the record and I'm literally scratching the record.
What'd that sound like?
It sounded like scratching.
Oh, cool. It also ruined the record.
Oh, most definitely. Because if you think about the early times, like the earliest song that I can remember scratching that really influenced me was by Herbie Hancock called Rocket. Those sounds weren't scratching with words. It was just sound. So I literally thought that you grab a record and you scratch it. Then I thought, you know what? Pulling a zipper on my jacket up and down really fast kind of sounded like scratching. I thought, well, maybe that's what they were doing because you're messing up all these records. So I would walk around and zip my zipper up and down real fast, trying to record that sound. So yeah, until, you know, MTV finally allowed Run DMC to get on, and I literally could see Jam Master Jay doing something. I literally could see Grandmaster Flash manipulating the record while it's being played. Those are the kind of things that I think those early DJs that came up along with myself, those were the blueprints. Because you're right, we didn't have social media or, even videos that we could see on TV to kind of train us.
Yeah, and hip hop back then was kind of caught in this weird sort of place where like you couldn't go to the library and check out an encyclopedia because hip hop was and scratching was too new. So it's not going to be in those old dusty ass encyclopedias. But then there was really no new place to find any information like that. And if you're on a military base traveling the world, it's not like you're going to find a whole group of people who are like minded and know what's up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you watch the NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton, I think it was called Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, the biopic.
Yeah, that one. If you watch that, then, you get to see that Dre had all of these other people in his community to learn from and build on, and they could play off each other. But if you're out there, so to speak, on an island by yourself, like you got nobody to play off of until, like you said, MTV comes around. So that's pretty cool that you had some stick-to-itiveness, that you were just aggressively trying to find different ways, different sounds. Playing with different sounds is a thing. And when people don't know what it is, it's always confusing. Like there was a song a long time ago by Dean Martin, and there was this sound in it that nobody could figure out. And his son, Dino Jr. or whatever his name was, he recorded that song like in updated version for his generation or whatever, but he never could get that one sound quite right. And he finally went to his dad and he was like, "Dad, what is that noise?" And he was like, when I was in the studio and I was just tapping along, I was wearing a ring on my finger and I had a Coke bottle in my hand. So that noise you're hearing is that ring on my finger tapping on that Coke bottle. And it's just so like, who would ever think of that, right? Wow. So, back to your zippers and your nickels and the creativity it's not in everybody, but the people that it is in, it starts early and just runs. And I think that's the story with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a small clip of my new favorite podcast. It's called Party Nerds Popcast, with recent previous guest Robert Carradine and his buddy and co-host Richard Gabai. This clip is from their episode with the great John Carpenter. Check it out.
First time we worked together was on Body Bags. And the penultimate moment in that story for me was to have the lift for the automobile come down and squish me. You were trying to figure out how to do that without actually squishing me. And then I came up with an idea. Why don't we get a couple of those cinder blocks over there and I'll just lay down and you get your guy with the Hudson sprayer to spray a bunch of blood out like I got squished. Do you remember that?
I remember what you're talking about. See, I wasn't so concerned about how to do it. I just wanted to drop it on you. But, you started talking about how to survive that shot. I remember it clearly, Bob. We were out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because it was supposedly a deserted gas station.
Yeah, which it actually was.
We built it, Bobby.
Oh, I thought that was...
Again, guys, it's called Party Nerds Popcast and is available everywhere you get podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
Back to the Dirty South real quick. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, arguably sort of the edges of the Dirty South. A few years ago, San Antonio Spur, I think 5-time champion San Antonio Spur, Tony Parker, he put out a record. He might have put out a couple since then, but his debut album, it was sold here. I don't know if it was sold nationally. I have no idea, but I know it was sold like crazy locally. He has an American serviceman father who was also a basketball player, and then he had a French mother, and so he was raised in France. So his, I guess, native language is French, and then so he put out an album of French rap. And he had probably on half the tracks, he had some of the Dirty South guys on there with him. And even one track, he had Jamie Foxx on there with him.
Wow.
I loved that album. If you could ever find that album, it's so dope. I played that CD until it broke. I loved it so much. My kids were like, "What? You don't even speak French. What are you doing?"
I was about to say.
I'm like, I don't even care. I don't know what he's saying, but this is so dope. So if you ever get a chance, check out that Tony Parker album.
It's funny. I got a great story, and I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't know what topics you wanted to cover, but I have a story that I'll tell you later about that very same thing where you expressed you didn't understand what he was saying in French, but you was feeling the groove and you rocked with it. And I got a great story to go with that.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I wrote a note to remind us.
Yep.
Okay, so what was the plan? Obviously, your dad's in the military. He might have wanted you to join the military. I don't know. Did you ever join the military?
I did. I actually retired from the military as well.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Good Lord. I appreciate you. Was it the Air Force?
No, I went to the Army.
So why did you join the military?
Interesting thing, when hip hop was really starting to gain momentum as we hit the 90s, I was involved in several rap groups as their DJ. One thing that the record industry did during that time was they were notorious for signing and recording artists, putting them through a quote unquote artist development period where their song would literally sit on the shelf and good record labels would take their artists and show them how to have showmanship in a performance, show them how to be interviewed in an intelligent manner, and so forth. So there are processes. Now, there are other entities that, didn't go through all that, but they still held on to the music for whatever reason, maybe board members.
And that still happens. I talk to people all the time. That still happens. They'll buy the album and shelve it. And they're like, guess what? I own it. We're not putting it out. Beat it.
Correct. Not as much nowadays because technology has pretty much opened the gates. It's not that much of a gatekeep anymore. But certainly during that time, I was involved in some projects. And unlike a lot of the people that are associated with hip hop, because it's a very urban sound, you had a lot of people dealing drugs and a lot of people doing other things to make ends meet.
What?
I was not part of that. And so I said, well, there hasn't been a war in a decade. This is 1989. And I said, let me just go into the military real quick, go to college. And being that I'm a direct product of a military lifestyle, I know what the military can provide. And lo and behold, the moment I joined the military, Desert Shield and Desert Storm happens.
When I mentioned that my wife was in the Navy, she was there for Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Nah, cool.
She was out there on the boat, like, when it transitioned, when it went from one to the other, she was out there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I was there too, but I wasn't on a boat. I was on that hot sand.
Gross. That's terrible.
And so that was the thing. I never really wanted to go in the military per se, but I was in this state of limbo. I really wanted to do the music. And where I was at the time, my dad retired in California, Sacramento. And so the Sacramento vibe was really buzzing for new talent in the hip hop genre. And so, I signed a contract and had a little bit of money, in advance. And
hold on. So when you signed a contract, were you with a band or did you sign a contract as a solo DJ?
No, I was with a band. You know how it always was back then. The DJs was the cornerstone of the groups.
Sure. Yeah. Fresh Prince's name came second.
Right. Yeah. Right. You got Grandmaster Flash in the Fearless Five. He was first.
Yeah.
Like you said, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and so on. And even when the name wasn't of the DJ in front, like Run DMC, it still was the group had to go off the tempo of the maestro, which was the DJ. So, in this situation, the people in the group, they just went back doing what they were doing. And that wasn't my thing. So I went into the military. I was fortunate that I was still able to DJ and segue my lifestyle of being a full-time serviceman and integrate music, which was really pretty cool, Steve. I tell you, because as there's a lot of negative connotations with hip hop, especially back then, because it was so raw and very urban and it wasn't as crossover as we know it is today, which still has a lot of, stereotypes that are negative.
Also, I think part of it was that the lyrics that were being, I guess, used, they like just with Cube, Ice Cube, he's writing what he knows, right? So he's writing about everything in his community, and that scared a lot of people. And it was, like you said, really raw. And so, yeah, it kind of gave people who didn't live in those communities like a peek into what those communities were like. In some ways and to some people. And so I think that it was raw and it scared people, and it did present, not a great picture, like you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very risky. And no one thought 50 years later we would celebrate a milestone of the genre. 2 years ago, we celebrated 50 years of hip hop.
Mm-hmm. I think that's when I had Cool Rock Ski on, was during that 50 year.
Yeah, Cool Rock Ski. I saw that too. That was dope.
Love that dude. Can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's ridiculous. The Fat Boys are not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, they had crossover appeal.
Mm.
And I think they will be considered before it's all said and done. They already lost one member.
2 of them. Cool Rock's the only one left.
Oh, 2 of them. That's right. Yeah. Cool Rock's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Buff. I forgot Buff was the first one to go. But and so what I was able to do was I was able to break down a lot of doors to develop the DJ Newmark brand, because people felt safe with me. They were getting the best of both worlds. They was getting the urban sound. They were getting the music that they really wanted. But yet at the same time, I had a very corporate demeanor, and that just worked very well.
Do you credit that demeanor from the military and also your upbringing in the military?
Sure. By no means do I want to say I was raised in the hood. You know, I was not. I mean, we didn't have silver spoons.
No, you had those big wooden ones on the wall that all the military families had.
Especially when they go overseas. I know the Asia. I know. Again, at the same time, that experience as a military dependent really helped me be a great communicator, to where I could communicate to Ray, Earl, Kiki, and Lil Pookie. And at the same time, I could turn around and talk to a Steve or a Trevor, and it's not a problem because I can balance that. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think that's 100% because of the military background. Absolutely.
If you could give a tip to up and coming hip hop artists, you had one tip that you could give to upcomers, what would it be?
One tip. Never stop dreaming. Never stop dreaming. You got to be a dreamer in any entrepreneurial effort. And as an artist, the root word is art. And art is interpreted by the people that are looking or listening at it. And there's going to be some people that is not going to interpret the art the way that you created it to be. And that could be positive or negative. But you know what, Steve? Here's the thing. When I was coming up through the ranks in this music industry, yes, there was gatekeepers, and a lot of it potentially could have been bad. But at the end of the day, the right people were trying to show us what structure was. The music industry had structure, okay? And today's world, there's no structure. So you literally have someone who's dreaming that doesn't have any type of background, any type of artistic measurement, and they open up their laptop and they can literally record a song, upload the song, have it distributed worldwide, and there's no formula. And I just think that that's part of, why I made the shirt that says Throwback music is the best music, because in today's world, there's just no parameters. And a lot of the stuff that's out there, to me, sounds just off. But at the same time, I do want creators to continue to dream and continue to be a visionary. And there's a lot of things out there that will derail you from that. Your family telling you there's no future in what you're doing or whatever, especially now social media. You'll have more haters actually on social media than you do supporters. That's just a fact.
Yep, 100%. And also self-doubt. Self-doubt will get you down too.
Well, of course. But what feeds that self-doubt? The negativity that you receive,
Mm-hmm.
My wife, we've been married over 20 years.
Congratulations.
She is not my biggest fan,
She is sometimes, I promise.
Yeah, when the checks come in, when the royalties come in. and I tell her, you're my biggest critic, but that's okay. Because when you put yourself into the public space, you have to know that that's part of the territory. But fortunately, some of my biggest supporters, Steve, come from people that don't even know me personally.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
Also, some of your biggest detractors, right? It's going to be complete strangers. They don't know you. Why are they mad at you? They don't even know you.
That's true. Yeah. My situation with the regards that you have a DJ and myself who may not be a household name, but has shared the stage with big time people in the music industry TLC, DMX, God rest his soul. I was the Oakland Raiders official DJ at one point in time. I'm a current radio personality, and I have about 16,000 people on average listening to my on-air broadcast per hour. I have the hottest throwback radio show in South Florida, and so on. So my resume is very accomplished. And in the music industry, you have 6 degrees of separation. You think it's a very big industry, which it is, but at the same time, it's very small and connected. I always felt throughout my career that DJs are kind of like the music industry prostitutes. And I say that because these groups don't hesitate to hire you to go on tour and you provide a service, but then there's no real notoriety in that because once the tour is over, and it's over, you go your way, they go their way.
Like a hired gun, yeah.
Yeah, like a hired gun. And I really want it to be something a little bit more stable, something that I can truly have an influence and not just be, quote, an employee. Because that's what I was when I was on the road with various established artists. I was basically an employee, no different than a drummer or a background dancer. And so I just felt that I needed more than that, more stake in the game.
I think more stake in the game also gives you more incentive to make it kick ass, right? Because now you're invested.
Yes. But for me personally, if I feel that it was worth my time and energy, regardless what the compensation was, I gave 110%.
Absolutely.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So check this out. So I'm in a super tiny town outside of San Antonio. And there was a local music venue. It's closed now, but there was a local music venue about 5 miles from my house. And I don't even know how I found out, but I think it was maybe on Instagram. I saw that Vanilla Ice and the I Love the 90s tour was coming to my tiny ass town. And I was like, what? And so this was the lineup. It was Young MC.
Mm-hmm.
It was Color Me Bad. It was, oh shit. I can't remember the other guy. I can never remember the other guy.
Probably Rob Bass.
It was Rob Bass. Thank you. It was Rob Bass. Vanilla Ice was headlining, and Coolio was supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
This is so terrible. This was on like a Saturday, and right in the middle of the show, they came on and announced that Coolio wasn't able to make it. He wasn't feeling very well. That was on Saturday. Wednesday, he passed, or Tuesday. So I just missed seeing Coolio by that much. God rest his soul.
Right.
But I couldn't believe that I got to see all those other people. Like, from my childhood, I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It was one of the greatest concerts ever.
Yeah.
How did you know that it was Rob Bass that I couldn't remember his name? How did you know that?
Because all of these are my guys. They're my friends, man. I know who goes on tour with who. It's interesting because I personally been trying to reach out to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
You and me both.
And I don't know where my communication brick wall is. I get so far, which is really odd because, with my contacts and influence, I almost can touch anybody at some way, electronically or telephonically. But I would love to get him on board. When you look on my Instagram, you'll see that I'm constantly making connections with people in the music industry and the sports industry and TV. And so I definitely would love to get Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah, you and me both. I had reached out to that guy. I think that's how you and I got together, is I had reached out to Mix, as I call him. I reached out to Mix and said, hey, man, I want to interview you for my show. And he said, cool, let's do it. And then that got like 300 likes and whatever. And I was like, cool, this is going to happen. But then crickets. Like, I can't get that guy's attention anymore. I don't know what happened.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what's going on. But oh well. I mean, it'll either happen or it won't. I really hope that you guys are able to make a connection. I would love to see you two team up and do something. You're also a basketball coach? Wild left turn. Sorry about that. You're also a basketball coach?
Look, I live in South Florida, man. We have hurricanes come and then make wild left turns all the time, so I'm used to it. Yeah, I did have opportunity to play Division I basketball.
For who?
Austin Peay State University in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Nice.
I didn't finish all 4 years there because, again, Desert Shield stopped that. But, being that I was a service member, they didn't have to waste scholarship money on me and I had the talent. And they was like, oh, my God, you know, a free basketball player.
What position did you play?
Point guard.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm only 5'7".
So Tony Parker.
Yep, Tony Parker. I'm only 5'7". So,
Oh, nice.
and so I just, always trying to give back to the community that I live in, whether it's, when I was a military dependent or when I was in the service myself. I'm just a big community guy. Currently, I'm also an ambassador for our local Chamber of Commerce here. Again, I'm a service-based at nature type of guy.
That's what it sounds like.
To be a DJ, you can't think about self. And I see a lot of DJs that do that. And for whatever reason, they don't seem to be as successful. But when you know that you are
For
the
whatever
catalyst
reason.
of having, yeah, right, of making people happy, that's the goal. Then, giving back to my high school that I'm employed with, is pretty much an urban school. And they need a lot of good examples of men. So I coach boys currently. I bring a little bit of that military discipline into what I do.
Some structure. Sure.
Some structure. Yep. And at the end of the day, it just makes them better student athletes and community and family members in general.
A lot of athletes credit their coach. Whether they make it or not, or whether they make it like as an athlete professionally, or even just people who go on to do other things professionally will look back and credit whatever their particular sport was, they'll credit their coach from growing up. So I think that you're making a huge impact on the lives of these boys. So good on you.
Oh, absolutely. I give it back because, again, as a former basketball player myself, I did have those coaches that were very instrumental in my development. Absolutely.
I was just watching Dancing with the Stars like 2 weeks ago or something, and Baron Davis is on there. And, everybody brings their wife, their kids, their mom, their dad, whatever. He brought his high school basketball coach. That's who he brought.
Wow. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So, I mean, coaches are very impactful. This is weird. Tell me about the 35-year rule with royalties.
You know what? There is this big misconception that once that time frame hits, it's all good, that an artist can claim their library, their catalog, and own it and all this. There is some truth to that, but it's a long logistical process.
And how did you become to be involved with it? Like, how are you so intricately knowledgeable about this 35-year rule?
Well, because I have music that I have recorded that was in the hands of record companies and that never was released. And I would like to recoup the material to re-release it. To me, it's about legacy. It's not about any financial gain or possible gain. I would like to leave as much legacy as I can for my children and children's children.
Well, besides all that, it's yours. Wouldn't you like to have your thing back? Like you created it.
Sure, absolutely. But sometimes you got to look at, is that a hill I want to die on?
Right.
Because logistically, it's ambiguous. It really is.
I interviewed this woman. She is a country singer out of Nashville. And she went through a similar thing where she had signed to a record label. They put out the first album. Everything was fantastic. She made the second album, handed it in. They go, thanks, this is awesome. And they set it on the shelf and then they let her go. So they own the album and they don't represent her anymore. But what she did was she did a Kickstarter and raised enough money through the Kickstarter to buy the album back from the company. And then she released it herself. So maybe if there is anybody that is still over there or that you can talk to, maybe that's an option. Maybe you can kickstart the funds and maybe they'll let you buy the album back from them.
That's always an option. I don't know if that would be the best look for my brand, but we all want to get to a space like Taylor Swift just released the album and it went viral because this was her first album that she actually was able to release under her own accord.
Really? This is the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She was able to buy back her library. Mm-hmm. So she owns the majority of it. But this album was like instrumental because it was all her.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if you saw the news, but people were standing in lines last night at midnight because that's when it was released, the actual vinyl.
Wow. It's so funny. My neighbors, they just left on a road trip and they texted me and said, hey, can you keep an eye out for the FedEx guy? Because Taylor's album is supposed to hit my door today and I don't want anything to happen to it.
See?
But that happened an hour before we talked.
See? I'm telling you.
What is the name of the radio station, or where can people listen to you on your Throwback radio station?
Sure. We simulcast on our website at yopalmbeach.com. So yo like Y-O, like you see behind me, 107.1. So yopalmbeach.com. We also have apps that they can download from their favorite platform.
Really?
Yep. You just see that logo right there.
Yo exclamation point?
Yep.
All right.
And then for the people in South Florida is, 107.1 FM. But again, the beautiful thing about what we do is we simulcast through that website. So I have people literally tapping in from, like on yesterday's show, I had someone tap in from New Zealand. I actually had someone earlier in the week tap in from Pakistan. And I'm like, Pakistan? Are you in a cave listening to me somewhere? Like, and so when I say a worldwide audience, that is not exaggeration, and it's definitely worldwide. It's very simple. Just go to your browser and type in, Yo Palm Beach. We're in Palm Beach, Florida, so yopalmbeach.com.
Okay.
And the site will come up and a listen live link will appear. You can just make that your favorite. They can go through my Instagram at DJ Newmark, and information that will connect you to our projects will be there as well. So several different ways to skin that cat.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Warning. Not listening to Fascination Street podcast may cause unexpected side effects. Side effects may include sudden fits of boredom, irrational curiosity about everything you missed, the inability to name your favorite podcast interview, spontaneous ignorance of obscure celebrity stories, talking to coworkers about nothing because you didn't hear the latest episode. Other symptoms may include excessive use of the phrase, "Wait, what happened?" Chronic seriousness with no trace of laughter or delight, unexplainable urge to scroll aimlessly instead of being entertained. In rare cases, not listening may lead to wandering aimlessly through podcast apps, overexposure to true crime reruns, and thinking you're cooler than you actually are. If you find yourself experiencing any of these symptoms, stop what you're doing immediately and download Fascination Street Podcast. Ask your podcaster if Fascination Street Podcast is right for you. Spoiler alert, it is.
Let's get back into it.
Earlier, when I was talking about that Tony Parker album where I didn't understand any of the words, you said you had a story about understanding the groove but not the words. Hit me with the story.
Yeah, so, I've had the privilege of being on stage where there was 30,000 people in attendance. And one of the most memorable times is when I was with DMX and we went to Germany. This was one of my first times performing in Germany. And in Germany, English is not a second language that's widely taught in their schools as like a graduation requirement. Not like some places like the Philippines, for example, where they're Asia, but they speak English because it's a mandatory language that they have to learn to graduate high school.
Oddly enough, Norway, you have to learn English.
There you go. Yes, I did hear about Norway. And so it was a fascinating thing to see 30,000 people reciting words of the song, but really didn't understand what the hell they were saying.
I think I heard that about the Scorpions, and I think they were German. That band, the Scorpions, when they first hit, they didn't know any English. They were just doing it phonetically. They were just saying, they just learned the sound of the words. They didn't even know what the words meant. So that makes sense. That's cool.
Right. So when you provided that testimony of your experience with the Tony Parker record, it automatically took me back because I can so see and understand what you're describing. When I perform, I obviously like to have crowd participation. So, while the music's playing, I might take the music out just to hear them finish the last part of a sentence of a chorus or whatever. And just to hear 35,000 people that probably really didn't understand what they were saying, but in unison was reciting the song was an awesome, awesome, awesome thing to witness.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in a stadium full of 35,000 people that don't speak any English, but they're all going to lose their mind up in here.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Again, DJ Newmark, check out all of the places that he said earlier. DJ Newmark, before I let you go, man, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about specifically that you wanted to talk about today? Like, did we cover the big bits?
Yeah, we did. I just would like to give a footnote that Recently, I designed a collection of DJ Newmark apparel, and you were so fashionably and nice enough to support that. And for people that want to know what you look like, they can certainly go to my Instagram and see you along with the other support community. You know, some notable, some not notable, but for me, anybody that supports the DJ Newmark brand is notable in my eyes. And you certainly are on that list, Steve. I really appreciate that. You know, if anyone is interested in taking a look at the collection, they can certainly go to djnewmark.com. DJNEWMARK.com, or on my Instagram at DJNEWMARK. And I must inform your listeners that there are two Newmarks apparently in the world. One Newmark spells it like the audio equipment, NUMARK, and I spell mine NEWMARK. So just make sure you go to the one. He's a handsome dude, by the way. So if you look at my page and know, oh, that guy's handsome, that's not me. I'm ugly. So I'm ugly and I'm trying to lose weight. I'm overweight and I'm a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, you see this guy who got, you know, slanted eyes and he looks black, but you're not sure, is he, you know, Hispanic? Is he Oriental? What is he? Tiger Woods? What is he? That's me.
Streetwalkers, don't let this dude lie to you. He is a good-looking man who does not need to lose a pound. Also, I feel like a complete and total ass for not bringing up the streetwear. I am so sorry. I do want to tell everybody, yes, I do have the shirt. I sent you pictures and you put on your Instagram. I am going to put the photo of me on my Instagram wearing a shirt and I will tag you. But I do want to let everybody know there's a few different selections, sort of colors and styles, but they show up in what, like, some of the most amazing packaging. It's very well put together. It's not like if you just order a shirt from literally anybody I've ever ordered a shirt from, where it was just kind of thrown in a bag with no tags, no nothing. This comes very well appointed with some little extras and some really cool fashion notes. Just the tagging and the wrapping. I mean, it really shows up and it makes a statement about how you run your business and yourself. It really does look great when it comes out of the package. So everybody, I'm so sorry that I neglected to bring that up like a total dick. But I do recommend it. And this shirt is so comfortable. I've been wearing this shirt for weeks now. I love it so much. It's a very, very comfortable shirt.
Thank you, Steve.
My apologies for not bringing it up on my own. Again, I may never get over it. I feel like a total dick. But they really are dope. You got to check them out. I mean, they're from the legendary Throwback King himself, DJ Newmark, spelled the correct way, I might add. DJ Newmark, dude, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your, I don't know, using nickels to scratch other people's records schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, next to my favorite street of all times, which is Sesame Street, Fascination Street is the next block over. So anytime I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to stop by. Believe that.
That's what I'm talking about. All are welcome. You are a pimp.
Hey, thank you.
Dude, you are the best. I appreciate you so much. You are a wealth of hip-hop and entertainment knowledge. You're doing good works by helping out the kids and helping out the adult entertainers as well. You're a badass. I know that everybody who listens to your show appreciates you, and I am going to be one of those fools.
But definitely don't forget, I'm on the East Coast, so from 3 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's when you can catch me.
3 to 7 Monday through Friday on the East Coast, and it's live, right?
It's live.
That is so cool.
I have a segment called Flavor on Top of Flavor where I'm actually for 30 minutes from 5:30 to 6. I'm on the turntables reminding everybody that I'm not just a radio personality, that the D and the J before Newmark is there for a reason.
Oh, snap. So you get sick and start making your own beats and things live?
Yeah. Scratching, mixing, all that. Yeah.
Oh, my
I perform.
gosh.
Everything up into that and after that is just radio personality stuff, you know?
Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know that I went over it, and I'm so sorry about that, but thank you for being gracious, and you are amazing.
Hey, you are equally amazing, Steve. Really, I am a fan of your channel and your podcast. I have listened and seen many of the episodes, and I want your wife to say, "Man, that Newmark was up there with my favorite one."
Love it. All right, cool. Thank you so much, man. You have a great rest of your week.
All right, God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.